So, sun came out finally at about 2:30. It's 2:43 right now. Figured I could show this with a little less excitement, a little less adrenaline. But earlier this morning, we were out on the porch watching, because in the neighbor's driveway, which is approximately down where that square sign or piece of metal or whatever that is, it was flooding out some. The creek had raised up enough to where it was flooding, and we were out here watching that, and all of a sudden, from that direction there, and you probably won't be able to make it out on video, but up there you can see some water flowing. It'd be hard to tell from here, but anyway, me and Chris were out here on the porch, and it's like a massive loud rumbling and a massive, like, 30-40 foot wall of just trees and mud and debris and apparently boulders. In one of the other clips I zoomed in on a boulder that we could see, but we witnessed it just barreling down, and we weren't sure, how high it was going to get, if it was going to, cut through here or what. We weren't really sure. We are higher up a little bit definitely than where the neighbors were. Once again, there was a house down there that was John the blacksmith, and then down there, roughly where that flat spot is, you zoom in, that was part of a guy named Andrew. That was part of his yard where his house was, and we didn't really know the full extent of it, but you kind of see flowing water through there. That was the yard of the other neighbor that was down below us. And anyway, sun's coming back out again, but Chris and I both turned to kind of, I don't know, we ran in the house because, at least it was something solid to hold on to, I guess, but we were worried. We didn't know how high it was because we just saw a massive wall of debris. But like in an instant, we I think we both ran in and threw on a pair of shoes. But by the time, this had to have been way before then, but by the time we were out here, there's just nothing here. The water's still pumping pretty fast, but it's lower than it was. That bank over there used to be part of the trout pond that was up here. In fact, that lot sticking out there might be some part of like their PVC drainage or something. But when at its worst, all of that was underwater. And you can see there's a truck. We watched some dude, he came down in that truck and drove down here, and he got a chainsaw out and started trying to clear a tree on the road, but then stopped because, you can see right there, road's out. Here's the center, I guess, yellow lines. But the road's out. And so he left, and don't know, presumably he's somebody that definitely didn't live on this side of the creek. I'm thinking maybe he he lived on the other side of 80 there. But he disappeared for a little while. Who knows? Maybe he went back to his house, if he can access it, if his house is even still there. Or maybe maybe he tried going up 80 up towards Burnsville, up to the Blue Ridge Parkway. Don't know. All the Devil's Whip, all the switchbacks or everything are up there. And honestly, with that wall of earth that came down through here, presumably that's gone somewhere, at least in one spot, if not all of it. But after a little while, he came back and I guess parked his truck. And the last we saw, this was several hours ago, but the last we saw, he started walking down. And he had to, you can see bits of it there. There's a tree across the road, and we watched him kind of navigate around the tree, but we ain't seen him since. Hopefully he didn't fall in, but on account of the other neighbors, we saw John and his girlfriend try and leave this morning, but by that point Chris had already tried leaving and to go to work because he's a water plant, but he couldn't make it. He had to cross power lines. There's a power line down on Geneva, which Geneva doesn't even exist anymore. There's another power line or two down across 80 and trees down across there, and he had a chainsaw but no gasoline, so wound up running into a guy who didn't speak any English in a box truck stuck there at the tree. Tried talking to him for a little bit and then wound up coming back. That's when I woke up this morning. But anyway, we saw John and his girlfriend try and leave at one point, and who knows, presumably they tried going down and got to the trees or got to whatever. There's so much stuff probably going on in the county that I don't know where the priority would be, but at one point John and his girlfriend came back, and after they came back, we saw the other neighbor, the one that lives kind of here-ish. It's hard because a lot of the landmarks are no longer there, but I'm pretty sure that bit of solid land there was probably part of his property. But anyway, we saw him walking around talking to John and his girlfriend. Andrew's girlfriend, the one that lives down there, she might have been there too, don't know. But at one point, and I mentioned this already, but at one point we came out here because we saw how high the water was in where John parks, and not sure if he was still there or not, but after Chris and I both went inside to get shoes, that wall of mud and debris and earth, well, that is presumably bits of John's house. That presumably is as well. There is a lot of... We went down to the house down that way as far as we could on the bank safely and kind of looked, and huge mound of broken trees and limbs and bits of house down there. Part of that house is still there, but it is no longer where it was. It's been wedged up against a tree down there, and don't know. But if John and Andrew and their partners were in there, then I guess they're presumed to be gone, because there was no getting out of this, or getting away from it. Chris and I were fortunate because we're up on this hill. I mean, the surge got high enough to move his truck. As mentioned, his truck was probably down right about there, and it's been pushed over that far. Where the neighbor down there used to be, there is now a massive hole, just with running water, just rushing water down through there. And we can see some of the other neighbors' homes down the road. Not sure the status there. They seem intact. At least the structure we can see look intact, and they seem to be exactly where they were initially, so hopefully they weren't affected. There was over at the trout farm, it would be hard to pick up in this, but actually that might be a piece of it right there. That red, that a structure, like a vent shelter, over there at the trout farm that had a red tin roof. But all of the buildings over there are just gone. The ponds are gone. Everything's gone. Some of the people that worked there, they lived in campers up above the trout farm, and I might be wrong, but you can see a glimmer of white through the trees there. And one of those campers is still there, and it seems intact, at least from our angle when we walked down near where John's house was. It seems like see all the trees and just ripped out of the earth all up in there. Not really sure what our plan is or what would be best. I think kind of what we're aspiring for is to kind of be ready, hopefully, with decrease of rain, and the winds died down definitely, but hopefully with the decrease of rain, there'll be some bits of this that we could forward and at least get like on the solid ground, once, I guess, the risk of any more rapid flooding like that, it's going to be tomorrow at the earliest. But even if we can't stay here. Even if we had power, we had well rots to the house down there. That house is gone. Well's gone. Everything's gone. Gonna have to. Some of the debris, but probably gonna have to abandon this place. A bunch of stuff, we'll have to take what we can carry out. Which sucks. Side note: Chris's dog Ada, hey, she's still okay. A little nervy. Chris went up to. You can see that A-frame's an Airbnb, and then there's that house up above. Chris went up there to talk to them, I guess, to maybe see what their plans are, or tell them what our plan is, maybe. We'll have to be smart about it, if there is even a place to forward. Right now, it's too much, but. The longer we stay here, potentially the water these streams are going to get. Definitely want to make sure we're out of the danger zone in terms of, flooding and stuff like that first. But I don't know. I mean, we've got enough supplies up here. Water is going to be our main issue. We have 3 gallons of water, distilled water, as well as maybe 15-20 bottles of water, like individual bottles. And then if we had to, the bathtub is currently filled up with water, as kind of a precautionary thing, from before the worst of the storm was supposed to hit. Might be a little soapy, but be emergency water. Try and spare that. Actually, what I was doing before all this happened was, and actually during it, I was filling, got a couple of jugs with a funnel, and I was filling up the rainwater so that we could flush toilets and stuff. But now that the rain's died down, that's kind of stopped, and I really don't want to go fetch muddy creek water down there. But I've got a bag ready, just with some dry clothes and some other stuff, some maybe a day or two's worth of canned food. And I think Chris he's going to build a bag too. He's going to travel lighter than me, and honestly, my bag was built in a panic, so I might lighten it up as much as possible. One thing, I took this out of the wreckage of John's place. Don't know if it's his girlfriend's. It might have came upstream, but found a MacBook in the wreckage. I don't know. Considering the moisture and everything like that, it's probably gone. Ports are all caked full of mud and everything, but I figured if by chance it did turn on, I mean, it might be kind of the last memory of these people. Not really sure. But the past hour, birds have been coming out. We've been hearing them a lot. We've seen a cardinal, heard crows, heard a woodpecker. It's a nice sign from just all the storm that we were in. At one point, we went when we weren't really sure if another landslide was going to happen or what. The wind was still going. It was raining sideways out here. We went into the tool shed. Thankfully, the hill behind it and the hill behind us, there's a creek back there, but we've looked at it and it's not too bad. But I mean, it's flowing into this stuff down here now. But even in the hardest of wind, all the trees back there were stoic. They weren't moving at all. They're shielded, so we figured, there's a chance of trees falling or whatever like that would be our best bet. And we said on the weather radio, weather stations, to move for high ground. Not sure how viable it is because we've never done it, but there's a path that goes up behind the house, and you can see the makings of it there. That just continues on up into the woods. But apparently, if you go up that trail, you get to a fork, and if you take one direction, presumably the right fork, you can make it up to either Burnsville or Spruce Pond or somewhere around there. It would have been nice to have navigated that ahead of time, because then needing to get out, I mean, we're going to be in for a trek, and it's a matter of, you know, do we go try and get across that and walk down 80, can walk up 80 assuming the road was even there, but that's a longer walk and a harder walk because it's all uphill with all the switchbacks, and presumably with this amount of earth coming down, those switchbacks might not exist anymore. But one concern is this massive flow of water. I mean, prior to this, you struggled to see the stream that, or like the two creeks that ran through here. You struggled to see them from up here, and now it's all we can see, all we can hear. It seems like the massive earth and debris and everything like that got stopped down there. So around that neighbor's house, and there's a truck down there. There's a chance that apparently the guy that owns that wasn't living in it, but he was letting a friend or something live in it, and we think that that's the friend's truck. But whenever we went down there, Chris hollered out a few times to try and see if anybody could hear him or whatever. But I mean, we can't go and try and play hero in this, because right now it just end up getting more people killed. But the real question is, if, you know, we do get across the 80, we go down, there's no telling down below this stream, these creeks, these streams, whatever they. So first of all, the first initial thing down there is, besides the church and a bend, it's I think called Sunnyvale. Sunnyvale has a church and like multiple campgrounds, and there's two of them. There's one, I don't remember the name of it, but it used to be where Elliott's Trout Pond is, and then the other one's Triple C. And some of the RVs, a lot of the RVs were gone per Chris, but some of them weren't. So hopefully, if you know, people were still there, hopefully this massive water didn't make it to them. At least not like this. But there's a chance that one or both campgrounds are annihilated, and then all of this eventually winds up in Lake Tahoma, and there's a dam there, and the dam was, last I heard, the dam was going as hard as it could, and with that rapid influx of water that came down with the landslide, that dam might not even be there anymore. That dam might have ruptured. We have no idea. And the worst thing is that, like, cell phone signal don't work up here. We had a landline, but the landline went dead this morning. So we've not been able to call anybody. If anybody's hearing about this, there's a chance they think we're dead. We're not, at least not as of yet. But it's a real concerning thing. Anyway, I'm going to turn the phone off and save battery. In case if we do get out and get signal, might be able to make a call. So